Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Now in this video we'll be configuring this wireless router to act as an extended internet source. Now we currently get internet through our modem, which is from our ISP. However, we want to also get internet through the router, so we'll have an additional wireless access source, and we'll have an additional Ethernet for internet. Now firstly, we'll look at the wired connection. So we have this yellow cable running from the one port on the router to the LAN port on the modem, and this will allow for the router to communicate with the modem and to get its IP. Now, in addition to that, we have this white Ethernet cable that runs to a computer, which will be doing the configurations through. And to top things off, we'll also be resetting this router back to its factory default, and this will allow us to basically to set it up from scratch and configure it properly. Now, depending on your model router, this might differ, but you should have a button or a section that allows you to press on it to reset your wireless router. Now we'll be going over onto the computer to configure the router. Alright. Now we made a previous video, so this is the second option video to that previous video. And the difference between these two is that one, you have access to your modem in this video, and two, we'll be allowing for the router to manage DHCP when it comes to connections to the router. All right, so before we get into it, just two things. Please ensure that the Ethernet cable that is plugged into your router from your modem is plugged out. And secondly, please ensure that when you are reconnecting that cable back into your router, you plug it into the section that says WAN connection and not LAN. In the previous video, we would have used LAN. However, in this use case, we'll be using WAN. Now, the reason why I'm asking for you to plug out the Ethernet cable right now is because a lot of times the router and the modem share the same default gateway. So to avoid this, we're just going to focus on the connection that is immediate, which is the router. So the router should be default 192.168.0.1. You can look at the back of your router and you'll see that. Now the username and login for my Nix router is username and password. However, for yours it might be different. It should be on the back along with the default gateway IP. So once you find those, you just enter them and you should be good. All right, so now that I'm in, the first thing I'm going to want to do is that I'm going to want to go to advanced settings, and I'm going to want to change this from 101 to 1.1. And this will be the default gateway connection for this next router. So once I apply, right, it'll begin to load. Let's give it a few and it should be back up. I'll be prompted to log in again, so just making that be known beforehand. Let's give it a little. So ideally, once this is changed, you should be able to connect your Ethernet cable that comes from your modem back to your router in the one port. However, before we do all that, I am going to go to the setup wizard. All right. It's taking a little while. All right, I've been logged out. You just give it a few and it should prompt me to be logged back in. All right, so the reason it's not logging me back in automatically is because the IP hasn't been allocated to my device as yet. So it's still trying to resolve that. So you can give it a little, or you can speed up the process. One way to do that is to go to your command prompt. So type in CMD in your search, So CMD, and then you click on command prompt. All right. So once that is done, you're gonna want to type in IP config release. Once that is done, you're gonna want to type in IP config renew. It's gonna take a little. All right. So once that is done, you will see that you will now have the default gateway of 192.168.1.1. And you should be able to connect now. There we go. So now we are connected. All right. So then I'm going to want to go to the setup wizard, and you're going to want to select static IP. Then you're going to want to enter in the IP that you are going to be reserving on the modem side for your router. So I'm going to type in 192.168.100, and this is just for my use case. Once the IP, you're sure that the IP, well, whatever the IP is, and you're sure that it is not currently being used, then you can enter in. But if it's an IP that is currently being used, then I recommend you find one that isn't being used. So 255.255.255.0. If this is a home network, then I recommend that you try a number that is a little high. So for the IP address, I choose 100. So you can do the same, because unless you're going to have 100 guests or visitors on your network, then you should at least have 100 up available. However, if this is like a cafe, then you might want to do this while you have downtime, so that you have less likelihood of this number being taken by another device. All right, so the default gateway will be 192.168.1 dot, dot 0.1, and this default gateway is the one that is for the modem. So remember, I was saying that it would share the same default gateway as the router before I changed it. That's basically what I'm entering in right now. And this is the DNS. The DNS tends to be standard when it comes to the primary DNS. It's 8.8.8.8. You can click next. And you can click apply. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to connect the modem to the router. And as mentioned before, you connect it to the WAN section. So let's connect it. All right, so it has been connected. And you just give it a little, and it should, there we go. It now connected, and now you have that connection. Now, because the modem does not know that this connection um, is static, it might give away this connection. So to avoid that, you're going to want to log on to your modem. All right, so now we're logging onto the modem. And as mentioned before, the previous video, if you do not have access to your modem, then it would be more appropriate for you to follow that video. However, if you have access to your modem, then you can follow along with this video and you should be able to do it. All right, so I'm gonna go into LAN setup, and you want to go into client list, and then you're gonna want to reserve an IP. So this is next. The IP is 192.168.0.100. The MAC address is C8393519FA98. Now, if you want to find the MAC address of your device, of the router device, then you need to scroll down here where it says system status, and you want to connect the LAN MAC address, which is this right here. So you just copy it and then you paste it over here. You see the same digit. The reason why it auto populates because I've done this before. All right, so I'll press apply and you give it a little. All right, so it is saying that it's offline, but that will change in a few. So it's fresh. Okay, cool. Now it's online and you should be able to browse now. So H, and now you're able to browse. You have internet connection for both Ethernet and Wi-Fi. All right, you can check that in here. So we both have internet and Wi-Fi connection. All right, thank you for watching this video. Please leave a like, please subscribe. Thank you.